You're in for a little shock. You've been a naughty boy. Surrender and you're in for a little shock. Come a little closer. You're in for a little shock. Witness the power. Come a little closer. You're in for a little shock. Come a little closer. Try not to.
Hi everyone, this is Godric and I'm not a Razor main, but I explain or at least try to explain my guides in Razor words. Let's get right into it. Since Lisa now has her new skin, I'm pretty sure that, like me, you guys are also excited to use her again, or for the first time. We'll be looking at her best roles and how to build her within those roles, and how to best utilize her kit. I'm including timestamps in the description so you can skip to the part or parts that you need. Starting out, you may have built her on your early days, or maybe you tried to search about her first, like, is Lisa a good character? Should I build Lisa? And most likely, the answers you'll find are no, she's a starter and she can only take you so far, no, she's clunky, no, she's weak, blah 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 blah. But like I always say, we can always play the game however we want, and ultimately, it's how we approach the game and how we personally enjoy it. Okay, being dramatic again, but yeah, what makes this exciting for me is that aside from her skin, since we've been introduced with the Dendro element, the Electro element that was once dreaded for its mediocrity, Lisa and Electro Charge or Teaser teams, wasn't as hyped, especially Overload because it sends mobs miles away. And well, unless you're a physical DPS main, you probably love the Superconduct reaction. Of course, with Dendro, we now have multiple reactions. So I mentioned these because naturally, I want to give you an idea to which teams Lisa can now be viable. I also have to say that this new weapon will surely be a good drip weapon for her. So if you follow me on my socials or watch my streams, yeah, I'm usually nitpicky about weapons. Not for the damage output, not for the meta, but for the visual aesthetics. I'm really sorry, but that's just me. Anyway, let's get to Lisa. I'm guessing that you already know her kit, but if not, she's a Catalyst user, obviously, and she can work best as an off-field DPS thanks to her wide enough AoE burst. Using her as an on-field may give you problems since she's a little pokey and squishy, so of course, we'll discuss team comps later, but obviously, if you intend to use her as an on-field, bring a shielder. Alright, let's look at her talents. First, Lisa's skill, Violet Arc, has this mechanic. You tap the skill once, twice, thrice, and you apply the conductive status, which is shown via the numbers. You want to apply up to 3 ideally, so when you hold the skill, you'll get higher or the highest damage output. You can see the multipliers here on her talent level. And then we have her normal attacks, which are basic, up to 4, and then thanks to her passive talent, this Induced Aftershock, when you do a charge attack, you apply the conductive status to the opponent's hit. So most of the time when I use her as an on-field DPS, I just spam her skill while doing normal attacks, so as not to waste time during the skill animation. This here is worth mentioning because from her skill, the application of the conductive numbers is single target. Now, if you have multiple mobs, you only have to incorporate charge attacks to apply the conductive numbers to them. And then of course, we did mention earlier, her burst is an off-field thing, so its scaling isn't that high as you can see, but that is given because of the long 15-second duration. Now that we know about her kit, we'll talk about the 2 roles she can fill and discuss with which teams those roles will perform better, as well as the builds for her in those scenarios. So first, for an on-field DPS, naturally and befitting Lisa's kit and skillings, Lisa here must be built with regular attack stance, Electro Goblet, and Crit Circlet. Any DPS attack or crit stat weapon is okay. This role and build is viable, of course, with a reverse Taser team where Lisa is the main driver, and your off-field units are the Hydro ones. I'd advise those units to be Shengchu, Yelan, or Kokomi, or in an Aggravate team where instead of the Hydro units, you use Dendro units such as Nahida, Kole, or even Dendro Traveler. Obviously, off-field supports. Her artifact set in these teams can be the 4-piece Thundering Fury or 2-piece sets of Thundering Fury and that of a plus 18% attack or plus 80 EM, whichever has the better substats. Your weapon of choice for an on-field DPS Lisa should of course be more on the offensive side, so the most F2P friendly would be the Mappa Mare, it being a craftable weapon. There's also the Dodo Coattails if you got it before, and then the Blackleaf Catalyst from the Star Glitter shop for its crit substat. The Widsith, of course, is her best 4-star option because of the crit substat, and although RNG, the additional attack, EM, or elemental damage that it provides. Now, those are the 4 stars, and naturally any other 5-star weapons are better, so use any of them if you have them. But the best would be most likely Kagura's Verity, as you can play her pretty much similar to Yaya Miko, so Lisa's skill needs to be activated 3 times, enough for the passive to proc. Also, if you're into overload reactions with Lisa as the main on-field, you can try it out with the national team, but that team is also viable with a burst support Lisa, which is what we'll talk about next.
You're in for a little shock. Come a little closer.
So given that Lisa's burst has a short cooldown, I really enjoy using her as an electro applier in the following teams. Of course, in Taser or Electro Charge teams, she can replace Beidou or Fischl if you don't have them. There's also Superconduct teams.
Try not to enjoy this.
Lights out. You can't run. Incoming. Yeah.
Of course, Overload.
Try not to enjoy this too much.
And Quicken or Spread or Hyper Bloom for Dendro teams. You'll notice that pretty much all kinds of teams are mentioned here because as an off-field / burst support, Lisa is viable. And honestly, one that most people may have just slept on, including me of course. So, having mentioned those teams and her role as a burst support or electro applier, we can say that her best builds are up to you. This is such a trap. What a useless guide must be what you're thinking. But wait, I only said that because I want to know, are you building her Lisa alone? Are you spending your resin for her alone? Because we just talked about our resin efficiency from my last video, and I have to say, building Lisa doesn't have to cost you that much. So to build Lisa as an off-field / burst support and efficiently spend your resin, I'd advise you to use leftover 2-piece sets of Emblem, Thundering Fury, or even that of plus 80 EM sets, especially in Hyper Bloom teams. If you have none, then these are the best domains or sets that I can recommend. You can go with 4-piece Emblem, seeing that that is one of the most resin efficient domains. Also with Dendro teams, you can even slap the 4-piece Deepwood on her, or the 4-piece Gilded Dreams, so that's another resin efficient domain. And if you have the Wanderer, farmed or still farming for the Desert Pavilion, you know, the Flower of Paradise Lost is very good for Lisa because of the 4-piece set effect. So any of those, as long as you prioritize her burst uptime, you seriously won't have any problems. Your main stats can be regular DPS stats, so attack or EM Sands, Electro Goblet, Crit Circlet, or go full EM, especially when going with Dendro teams. Although I have to remind you that as a burst support, you want to keep her burst up all the time, if not most of the time. So try to balance out her Sands, or all of her substats. You can try to replace her Sands with an ER main stat. Make sure that you get 200 ER or more. By the way, if this video helped you out, please like it and consider subscribing. Help me reach my goal of 1,000 subs. Guys, we're almost there. We're pretty close. I'm almost at 700 right now. So yeah, anyway, let's get back here. So for a weapon, for a burst support Lisa, your goal here of course is pretty much to keep her burst uptime 100% or make good use of her electro application. So I'd recommend you go for either EM or ER substat weapons, but of course, crit or attack substats can still be used, albeit of course you have to have better luck on your artifacts. Anyhow, if you're focusing on ER, there's the Hakushin Ring, Favonius Codex, or even the Oathsworn Eye, which was also a free limited weapon. And for EM focused weapon, this is most likely if you're using her within Dendro teams. There's Mappa Mare, again, Sacrificial Fragments, and the Sumeru craftable weapon, the Fruit of Fulfillment. This is more directed for utility. Speaking of utility, the 5-star Nahida weapon is also excellent, the 1,000 Floating Dreams. So this gives you a small amount of EM to be shared to the whole party. And lastly, if you want to extend that utility, although losing out on ER or EM stats, bring the Thrilling Tales, so that weapon can be used for, sharing of attack. So now, I want to know what you guys think. Do you agree with this? Do you agree with what I've said? Are you going to build Lisa now, that she's been given her free skin? So please let me know in the comments. And with that, thank you for watching. This has been Godric, and I'll see you on the next one.
ちょっとビリビリさせないとね
うがちなさい。ふっはっはびこれ。しっかり立ってな。
あ、覚えたわよ。
逃がさないわよ。
私のお家にいらっしゃい。
おとなしくしな。渚のリン3。逃がさないわよ。はあ、ちょっとビリビリ。いや、逃がさないわよ。
知識をあなたにも。
はっ、しびれな。邪魔をするな。役払い。
はびこりなさい。
早く投降しなさい。はあ、はびこれ。逃がさないわよ。逃がさないわよ。